Hello, good evening and welcome to Business Live. Coming up in this bulletin, International Monetary Fund dismisses criticism on Ghana's program affirming progress with structural and quantitative reforms.
To be frank, this is not something that we have been discussing with the authorities. What needs to be done to make sure that the program is on track and to make sure that those objectives are achievable. This was really what the discussions focused on.
We shall have a conversation on the back of that. Also in this bulletin, Ghana Association of Forex Bureau appeals to the public to a public Forex Bureau operating without issuing receipts to customers.
You see people telling us that this bureau have not, they think that they have no license, they don't issue receipts. Once you know that they are not, because now every bureau must issue receipts.
Plus, Vice President of Imani Ghana, Bryce Simmons, criticizes government's decision to set up a petroleum hub, insisting successive administrations have failed to invest in bankable projects which will impact the economy. We have details of this and more lined up for you. Please stay on. Thanks so much for your time. I am Pius Kojobaka, looking at our stories. The International Monetary Fund is rejecting warnings that Ghana's program with the fund is under threat and risk ending without meeting critical targets. George Yafi has more from Washington, D.C.
Speaking at a special engagement with a group of Ghanaian journalists here in Washington, D.C., the head of the mission for Ghana, Stefan Rode, noted that Ghana's program with the fund is on track and doesn't see any challenges with it as you speak right now.
If you look at the PFM Act, that 1.5% of GDP primary balance is enshrined in the law. It's not just an objective that is negotiated by the IMF. It is actually Ghanaian law. So that makes us quite confident that this is going to be achieved going forward and that it will help tremendously with bringing down debt going forward and making the Ghanaian economy more resilient. That will help assuage concerns about debt vulnerabilities going forward.
He was, however, quick that this is dependent on government sticking to the program conditions to ensure that it ends on a good note.
But of course, there is a but, and the but is that the program has to be implemented. So the government has to adhere to the target, right? The government has to implement the reforms that are planned for in the program. This is very important. So it's not just today, but it's in the next few years. The program commitments have to be to continue to be implemented. Certainly 2025, 26, the budget for 26 will be important as well.
He's ruling out that Ghana may have to extend the program due to the challenges that they are looking forward to in the coming years.
You know, to be frank, this is not something that we have been discussing with the authorities. Because of what we have discussed and the deterioration in performance in 2024, the focus in the context of this mission that just took place was very much on what needs to be done to make sure that the program is on track and to make sure that those objectives are achievable. This was really what the discussions focused on.
The head of mission for Ghana, Stefan Rode, has also been responding to argument on the basis that went to the fund reaching a start-level agreement with Ghana, looking at the targets for 2024, as well as the forward-looking commitment by this administration.
A lot of the forward-looking component had to do with how to make sure that, given that underperformance, how to make sure that the program objectives remain achievable going forward. And what type of policies have to be implemented to make sure that the objectives are achievable. So we talked about the fiscal situation. We had some slippages. The performance was not as good as envisaged. But do we have policies now in place to make sure that the objectives are achievable going forward? And the response is yes.
The head of mission also maintained that the fund supports government plan to bring in private participation when it comes to ECG and its operations.
Most recently, what we have done with the new government is to to discuss continued implementation of these reforms. And what we have heard from the new government is that they are very committed to those reforms and to try to sort out the challenges in the energy sector. They are not going to be resolved from one day to the other because the size of the shortfall is large, but they are very committed to accelerating those reforms and to try to reduce the size of the shortfall going forward and to try to tackle the issue of the accumulation of arrears.
So you heard the views of the IMF on some meeting targets when it comes to the fund, etc. Let's bring in the views of a senior finance lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School. He joins us via Zoom. Cedi Stability, I truly appreciate your time speaking to us here on Business Live. Now, given the IMF's rejection of warnings about Ghana's program, what are the key factors that could either strengthen or jeopardize the country's ability to meet its critical targets under the fund program?
Thank you very much. I think the factors that we need to consider is to ensure that we have fiscal discipline and making sure that the provisions in the agreement with IMF are followed. We need to follow the advice of the professionals who are advising government on this so that we get the right things done.
How might these challenges be addressed going forward?
In order to address these challenges well, all that we need to do is that we need to be firm, no matter the hard decisions that will be taken by government to ensure that the fund is successful.
And so far, what would you say has been your assessment in terms of government's commitment to the funds program?
I will look at it from the perspective of the president and that of the finance minister. The commitment they have put into it, making sure that we have macroeconomic stability in the economy and ensuring that the fiscal stability is maintained. We have the Bank of Ghana not lending to government and printing more amount of money, and that will go a long way to affect the stability of the economy. We can also talk about the gold board that has been established to ensure that they control the sale of gold in the country. And that will ensure that we have enough gold to serve as a buffer to the currency so that we will not have currency depreciation in the economy.
Last year, for instance, we weren't able to meet some of the targets. Are you optimistic, considering the, the advantages we have so far, and of course the introduction of some policies, etc.? Do you think we can leverage on that to, meet some of the targets?
Looking at the missing of the target, yes, it was due to the election that we've had and the politicians overspending and not following the roadmap that have been outlined with the IMF. In the instance where we find ourselves now, I am very much optimistic that government will ensure that the right thing is done and the targets are maintained over a period of time.
Cedi Stability, thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us here on Business Life. I truly appreciate it. He's a senior finance lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, speaking to us there. Now, let's stay one longer on the International Monetary Fund, because Head of Finance at Melbourne Capital, Nelson Kugbaji, has urged government to exercise caution and maintain discipline in its expenditure to avoid jeopardizing the IMF program. He's been speaking on the marketplace.
I think that when we are not careful and we embark on uncontrolled government expenditure and financial and fiscal indiscipline, that may throw the whole program off board. I listened to the gentleman, the IMF lead for Ghana, made mention of the fact that they are very confident that Ghana will meet their target. Of course, that is what they are supposed to say. But internally, we have to make sure that we are fiscally disciplined, we control our expenditure, we don't spend excessively in order to meet most of the target under the program.
Let's now talk about the local currency, because former chairman of Parliament Committee, Patrick Boamah, is asking government to maintain fiscal discipline in the coming months to help sustain Cedi's good run. Now, the Ghana Cedi has witnessed one of its longest stabilities against the US dollar in recent times. The local currency's good run has even been enhanced post-staff level agreement with the International Monetary Fund, as it has seen an appreciation against the dollar in some days. Patrick Boamah has been speaking to Joy Business's George Yafe.
It will be released, I believe so, and I hope it's going to affect our currency situation and bring some stability on the market. Because if you are going to be receiving over $300 million, it adds up to your reserves and gives some assurance to the business community about currency stabilization, what have you.
But you've spoken about the currency. Already we've seen over the past 2 days, we've seen some big rallying of the currency. If you look at the Bloomberg platform and even the commercial banks read. I mean, knowing where you're coming from, your background and all the rest, for you, what should be done by those who are managing the monetary space to sustain the gains that we are seeing with the local currency?
For me, as a lawyer and somebody who is a student in this area, I think it's about confidence that the managers of the economy bring to bear on the financial market and space, and to the investor community, that affects their projections into how their currency is going to perform. Secondly, there are a lot of arrears on the books of government that ought to be paid. But the investors, you and I know, are aware of this, and they are asking questions as to the effect of those payments on the city. For example, if you have about 18 billion cedis on the books of government, what will be the net effect if government starts paying? Because I know for a fact that government has not been paying some of these areas over the last 6 months. And if you look at the quantum on the books of government, like I said, what will be the effect of those releases on the currency's depreciation? You must look at that, and I believe the investors are also looking at it. So it's early days. I saw the Cedi to the dollar around 14.9.
From coming from the 15 range over last week. Yes,
it means something has happened that we need to investigate, whether it's artificial or whether it's through some ingenuity from the governor's end or the finance ministry.
Also, don't forget that the dollar on the global market is also struggling as well, so that could also be a contributing factor.
It's a contributory factor. Secondly, this issue of tariff war that is going on. You could tell that if importers are not arranging for the needed dollar from the central bank, it will also ease some pressure on the bank. That will also affect the depreciation of the city. So let's watch the space. If all these tariff issues are resolved, I believe the Chinese and Americans are doing their thing. And if government decides to start paying arrears owed contractors, service providers, and what have you, then we can easily assess whether government has done something technically right to ensure that the city is stabilized.
So you feel that it's a brief relief, but
I believe so.
Let's watch the space and see how government would also manage the servicing of these debt and the end impact on the local currency.
You see, depreciation affects the overall GDP or the debt stock of government. At the last review, we realized that the debt to GDP ratio was confirmed by the World Bank and the IMF to be about 61.8%. They also confirmed the growth rate of the economy as of December 2024 to be about 5.7%. They are now telling us that the projections in our budget of about 4.4% growth rate is being revised to about 3.9%. I believe they have also factored into their projections some of these issues that we are talking about. Because if you haven't paid contractors, if the arrears sitting on your books is about 18 billion Ghana cedis or so, receipts that are pending at the Controller and Accountant General's office and what have you. So if they do a net effect of all these releases, coupled with the happenings on the global economy, the struggling dollar and the tariff war that is going on, and the issues within the country as a whole, then it takes you, or a reasonable person, to say that, look, this is a brief respite for the city. Let's see.
You're still watching Business Life. We have more for you after this break. Hello again. The Ghana Association of Forex Bureau is urging Ghanaians to avoid doing business with Forex Bureau operators that fail to issue receipts or VAT invoices. President of the association, Alex Akpebli, has been speaking to Joy Business.
The much needed transparency that they are looking for is now, with them.
Now, Doc, let me come to your members. There were concerns with respect to some not issuing VAT. Somewhere last 2 years, the central bank actually also embarked on this same distress action, closing down some of these Forex bureaus. How, going forward with this new leadership, how are you going to ensure that these members, respect or fall within this or comply with respect to these guidelines set from by the Bank of Ghana?
Well, it's all about education, okay? It's all about education. The unfortunate thing is this, that some of the regulatory requirements, let me say sorry, that they were more tailored for banks and other financial or deposit takers. Okay. So the mismatch, and it's like it's the same thing that they want us to do. You see, but so the mismatch have not helped. Okay, that mismatch. We are just simple forex bureau. What do? We buy and sell foreign currency. In other jurisdictions, even in the United States, if you want to buy currency above maybe 10,000 US dollars before they start verifying you, okay? But then when you travel, some places they take your they take your passport, and you're
good to go.
Yeah, you are good to go. But it is not the case where you go and do a biometric verification, where you put your finger on a certain device. You see, that scared people.
And one of our lead stories, Vice President of Imani Ghana, Bryce Simmons, has criticized government's decision to set up a petroleum hub. Mr. Simmons questioned government's project choices, insisting that successive administrations have failed to invest in bankable projects which will impact the economy. He's been speaking to Joy Business.
What have we learned from HIPIC to the debt default or the DDEP? What have we learned? We've learned very simple piece of information. One of the critical lessons we've had now is that unless we understand very clearly that only a coordinated set of investments can generate the return to enable us to pay off the debt, and that is the primary way in which we should think through when it comes to increasing conventional finance or any kind of financing, we will fail. So it comes back to project management and how do we select our projects and prioritize our projects. You want to do petroleum hub development corporation, 3 oil refineries. You already have 2 refineries that you can't operate efficiently, the oil refinery and Central. How do you then proceed to focus on a hub rather than a set of policies that makes your existing refineries effective so that investors will come in? Because if not, then you go and borrow money to pay off the compensation. That will cost you not less than $100 million if you are being true to facts. Meanwhile, you know that your current projects are not bankable. So that $100 million you go and borrow to come and pay compensation, ultimately is going to be wasted money because you'll not be able to follow up to get the billions of dollars you need to build your 3 refineries. Because why? Everyone who has a little brain in the head will look at Central and look at the oil refinery and conclude that you can't run an oil hub.
Now, Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Income Investment Fund, Dr. Kweku Isidu Nketia, has revealed that the president is encouraging Ghanaians who are willing to mine responsibly to use the Ghana Gold pendant as an opportunity to enter the mining sector. Now, speaking at the launch of the Ghana Gold pendant in Accra, the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Income Investment Fund, Dr. Kweku Asiedu Nketia, stressed that the fund is ready to assist people who want to engage in mining the right way.
Since independence, Ghana has been touted to be one of the largest gold producers in the world. However, most citizens have never had a chance to get a token or get a part of this gold. Recently, we've seen how gold prices are escalating. Imagine if this opportunity had presented itself some months ago. That opportunity, if you had taken that opportunity a month ago, the value of the gold you would have purchased would have escalated by now. So please, this is an opportunity. Africa, we've been in a position where we always export raw of our produce, and it has never given us value. This is an opportunity for us to own 24-karat gold, refined gold, to be part of being a Ghanaian. We should use this opportunity to own such a product. This product, if well kept, can be an investment opportunity even for the next generations to follow. So if for some years ago, our parents were unable to take such an opportunity, this product presents the time for you and I to own something that will last beyond our generation.
And the head of marketing at Mantrax Refinery, Victor Welridge, shared the inspiration behind the Ghana Gold pendant.
Now let me tell you a story. This is a Mantrax story. So a year ago, we had a visit from a distinguished celebrity or musician. He came to us with some gold chains. He had silver on. And he wanted to take his profession to the next level. So he wanted to know, what can I do to migrate and move from my status now to the next level? And he wanted to do something about his chain. So we went into our brainstorm room, and then we decided to come up with something very unique for him. So we recommended an idea of a loyalty card that has a gold chip embedded in it. And immediately we created a sample, a dummy for him. He went crazy. And he screamed, "This is premium. Premium is here." The moment he did that, we just got his next theme for 2025. So he decided to make 2025 his premium year project. So he decided to go all gold and to go premium with his career. We literally have done something no other company in the refinery industry has done. We've been able to gift over 200 of this 1 gram 24 karats gold to every single guest in this room tonight. And this is novel. This hasn't happened anywhere in Ghana. And I believe the sky is the limit. We want to do something even more bigger than this. And this led us to the gold pendant.
You're still watching Business Life. We've got to bring you this breaking story we are learning because we have the newest appointment at the central bank, and Matilda Santie-Siedu has been appointed the second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. And of course, there's a statement to that effect. You can find that story on myjoyonline.com. President John Mahama has appointed Matilda Santie-Siedu as the second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. Now, the appointment made under Section 17 of the Bank of Ghana Act 2002, Act 612, underscores the government's commitment to bringing seasoned expertise to the nation's fiscal sector. Now, this was contained in a statement signed by the spokesperson of the President and Minister of Communications, Felix Kwakye. So there you go with that statement on your screens, and you can find that statement as well on myjoyonline.com/business. Always a delight serving you. I am Pius Kojo Baka.